just when we thought the Diddy trial would not get any crazier, or any weirder for that matter, or even better, even freakier. We are about to go over this interview with one of the workers, the sex workers that Diddy hired to have a freak-off or freak-offs with Cassie, named The Punisher. Don't ask me what kind of name that is. I don't know. But his name was The Punisher. Now, you have an imagination, I'll let you run wild with it. But for Diddy to hire another man, matter of fact, we're not even going to get into that because we are actually way past that. We know Diddy is freaky. We know Diddy is the freakiest. He is now considered the diddler. Matter of fact, I even came up with a new name for him. He is officially known as B.O.B. I'm sorry, B.O.B. from Atlanta, the rapper. Your name has been taken over. Diddy is now known as B.O.B. Yes, the baby oil bandit. Yes, Diddy is now officially the baby oil bandit. And if he was here, he would tell y'all to do 3 things for me. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and share this video so someone else can do the very same thing. And if they don't, then we're going to send the Punisher after them. During this interview, the Punisher, whose real name we are going to learn, goes deep. He goes in depth into some of the freak-offs that he had with Cassie. The actions of Diddy during those freak-offs, what Diddy did. Yes, I promised y'all that we would go and dive further, deeper into, and no pun intended, no Diddy. We were going to get deeper into this Diddy trial, and we were going to cover some of the people that are testifying, which we now know that 𝐃𝐢𝐝 testifies next after the Punisher testified today. So without further ado, I need to find out exactly what the Punisher is talking about.
Believe it or not, locally, it's pretty still consistent. In the New York City area, I've been dancing like I testified to for 30 years, and I did reach a decent degree of local popularity. So it's pretty much still the same scenario for me in terms of interacting and people knowing me for being an exotic dancer. I think the part of it that's difficult is not the Punisher thing. It's I went from a dancer to male prostitute, possible escort, based on this scenario, which is not actually accurate.
The court heard that you estimated you took part in 8 to 10 of the Diddy sex parties, which took place exclusively in New York. Sometimes they took multiple days. They would begin sometimes at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. On the stand, Cassie Ventura detailed graphic sexual scenarios or freak-offs with Sean Diddy Combs. She dropped allegations of drug usage, violence, blackmail, even rape. At the center of this, it seems to me, is going to be the issue of consent, as to whether she was consenting to all this as a willing participant in this. What is your view? I mean, do you believe this was all consensual? Or do you think that, as the prosecution want the jury to believe, this was all coercion, control, and criminal?
Well, I mean, obviously I'm only privy to the circumstances that I was a part of. And as similar to I testified to, I didn't get any cues or didn't have any thing that would lead me to believe in the moment that she was under any duress or any forced scenario. It was presented to me that this was something that she wanted to create for her husband. You know, for the majority of the time I interacted with them, I believe they were a married couple, and I believed, based on me following them on Instagram and whatever interactions that I seen, although minimally, it seemed like a normal situation. I didn't get any cues to it being a distressful environment.
I mean, people, you say normal. A lot of people have been pretty shocked by the details coming out of this court case. For most people, I would argue this is not normal sexual behavior to call in and pay somebody like you, in Diddy's case, to come on and have sex with his girlfriend as he watches. most people don't view that as normal. Other people might, right? So I'm not here to judge the normality or otherwise of it.
So y'all are now hearing it from an eyewitness's mouth. Yes. Not his opinion, not my opinion, not Piers Morgan's opinion, from someone who was actually in the room with said parties, with Cassie and Diddy. Someone who was actually, matter of fact, not even just in the room, someone who was participating, someone who was actually paid to have sexual intercourse with Cassie. And from his description of her actions and interactions with him, she was fine. She was not under any duress. She was not giving any types of hints or signals that she was. And so what does that say? Could she still have been under duress? I don't know, because from some of the things that they say Diddy did as far as watching, see, Diddy watched most of this. Diddy was sitting there watching a lot of the freak-offs happen right in front of his face. This was his actual, personal, live and direct corn movie. That's what this was for Diddy. It turned him on. And for him to see another manhandle his woman, turned him on even more.
But was there anything about what happened when you were there which unsettled you?
So I agree with you about normal. When I use the word normal, I was talking about the interactions between him and her, just as far as their scenarios. I didn't get any cues that there was some tension or an intense environment. As far as the sexual scenario, even with me being in the exotic dancer business for many years, that environment was very uncomfortable for me. It was something I was not used to, something that I'd never took part of in any type of extensive scenario. So it was definitely uncomfortable, but it didn't, at the same time, it still didn't appear, other than us trying to create this scene and some of the direction that I did sense some frustration. I said in my testimony, I saw her sigh at times and look frustrated at the cues and the direction I was given. Other than that stuff, I didn't see anything that was off. And again, even me mentioning it in trial, it was in hindsight, because if there were no allegations, I might not have read into it at all.
The first time you met them both was at a hotel room in Trump Tower, owned of course by the now President of the United States. It's on Central Park West. I've stayed there myself when I did The Apprentice years ago. I believe Cassie Ventura, you testified, greeted you at the door in a bathrobe, and you were specifically told not to acknowledge Sean Diddy Combs, who was sitting in the corner. He was wearing a veil over his face, but you knew it was him, I presume.
Okay, so folks, just so we get something straight, that shit is not normal. Piers tried to clean it up a little bit and say he wasn't judging. We're all judging. That shit was not normal. You know that wasn't normal, and I know that's not normal. Especially from a man's point of view. That is not normal to pay someone to have sex with your wife, to have sex with your girlfriend. That's just not normal. For you to sit there and watch it, and that turns you on. Instead of you interacting with your girlfriend, with your wife, you would rather someone else interact with them. That's not normal. That is not normal human male behavior at all. And I don't know what men actually like this besides Diddy, but we should know that there are other men out there who are exactly the same. The only question that I have for them is, you could pay me. If the Punisher can get some, I'm just saying.
I did not.
Oh, you didn't notice him?
I did not know. I did not recognize her. And again, his face was completely covered to the degree where you could only see his eyes. So I was totally unaware of who they were. Actually leaving, I tried to do some Google searches, because obviously I understood that this was some sort of a prominent couple, but because she initially said they were married, I recall searching married couples, and I was going to draw a blank, because they're in fact not married.
you testified that the man was nude, wearing a Muslim-like face covering, and that he was masturbating in the corner while he watched you with his girlfriend, and that said that Cassie and this man then left the room after about half an hour. When she came back, she asked you whether you wanted to finish. This was the quote used, and you declined. You were then paid an additional $1,200 and left the hotel. So at what point did you realize this was Diddy, one of the most famous rappers in the world?
I mean, embarrassingly, I have to say, this duration of these meetups went on from 2012 to 2015, and it might have been well over a year into interacting with them before I figured it out. And I never figured it out visually. And what happened was we checked in a hotel they used called the Essex House. There was usually a waiting period before any of the sexual interactions would happen. And just killing time in a room that I was told to sit in, I cut on the TV, and the TV happened to have a welcome message, and it said the Essex House would like to welcome Mr. Sean Combs. And it was just like a holy crap moment. I was completely unaware. And even more embarrassing about it was I followed him on Instagram. I followed him on Instagram. I routinely saw his posts, and I did not put it together at all.
Once you realized, and it's an extraordinary way to find out, when did you let them know you knew who they were, or did you not?
I did not. I obviously I realized there was a long period of time with them hiding their identity. Cassie would try to wear wigs, which was kind of ineffective, but I didn't recognize her anyway. And you know, Mr. Combs went great lengths for me not to realize it, so I never said anything directly.
Now, I need y'all to realize that when someone is speaking to you, if they take a big swallow like he did, like your mouth is dry, you know, like you need some water, you need something to drink. When he takes a big gulp like that, it usually means they're lying. You know, we are a big advocate for watching body language here, and if you watch his demeanor when he takes that deep swallow, that big gulp, yeah, after being asked a question, yeah, I don't know if I can honestly believe him when he said he did not know that was Puff. I really don't know. Based on what they were doing, because again, Puff was getting a little freaky. Hey, this is like something you see in a movie. Puff was getting a little freaky. You come into the room, she tells you do not acknowledge the gentleman in the right corner of the room, and so you are face straight, you are not looking. That gentleman has a veil over his face and he's butt naked. And as you get into your activities that you are paid later to leave for in the amount of $1,200, that gentleman that you are not supposed to acknowledge is over there pleasuring himself. That is a movie. That's like in a movie, literally. But then again, you have to think about it. Diddy has the money to do this type of stuff. And this happened in Trump Towers. So he has the money to have freak-offs wherever he wants to and sit in the corner with a veil over his face and tell the man, do not acknowledge me, I'm not even here, as he pleases himself. I had to say it one more time because I don't think y'all realize the extent to which this man went to have freak-offs. That this man went to have other men roughhouse his girlfriend in front of him.
But at some point, he took off the covering anyway and just started wearing a baseball cap, so I couldn't visually see him.
I mean, that's a weird thing, isn't it? You see one of the most famous rappers in the world, and he is directing you to have sex with his girlfriend.
Yes, absolutely. Me personally, going through it, I remember making up my own stories where I figured this was a scenario where obviously he's this famous rapper and he's gonna indulge in plenty of women, and this is his girlfriend, and this is kind of like a okay, I'm doing all of this, so now you get an opportunity. That was a story I made up for myself. There was also a story that I believe at some point that maybe he in fact had erectile dysfunction. I had a situation earlier in my career, the only one time before, where I was propositioned to deal with someone's wife, and that was the circumstances where the husband had a sexual issue, and he was doing this to supplement his own inabilities. So I remember while this was going on, I had a belief that maybe that was going on with Mr. Combs. I had no idea that this was just more of a fetish type of scenario.
People think he was very obviously bisexual, if not actually gay. I mean, do you have any insight into that from your interactions with him?
Not from my interactions. You know, growing up in Harlem and being into hip hop culture, there have always been rumors surrounding his sexuality, but I will say firsthand that I didn't have any experiences. The entire 2.5 years, I literally never had a conversation, never even had eye contact. And I don't think, almost every circumstance, he was across the room in a corner, kind of out of sight. You know, I was instructed coming in to not look at him, acknowledge him, have any interactions with him. So in regards to what his sexuality and his preference would be in regards to me being present, there was so much distance, him being away, all of his conversation and interaction went towards Cassie that I can't speak to anything in regards to his sexuality.
Yeah, now, this is perversion on a whole nother level. I don't care what you call it. I don't care if you are one of those people that says, I don't like to judge. I will not judge. Everyone judges. Everyone gets judged. And this is perversion on a whole nother level, on a different scale. Yes, this isn't a man who has erectile dysfunction. This is a man who is the total opposite. He actually enjoys watching his lady get plowed by other men. He pays them to. That's why this is, you have to think about this, right? It's easy for women to get sex. It's very easy for women to get sex. And a woman as beautiful as Cassie, trust and believe, it's very easy for her to get sex. But he wanted to be in control of that aspect of the freak-offs. Yes, he wanted to be in control of that aspect where he chose and decided who freaked off with her, where he watched who he chose to have freak-offs with her. He was directing them during the freak-offs. He was in the room directing them. Yes, and don't forget what I said in my previous video. She would go to another room, have the men finish on her, and then go back to the room with Diddy and rub it on his nipples. Perversion on a whole nother level. If you don't believe me, just ask the Punisher.
When did it end, all this? When did you stop getting calls on them?
The last call I got was sometime around March 2015, as I testified to. It had been quite a few months in between since I interacted with them. And ironically, maybe 6-7 months before, I had a really bad injury where I tore my bicep. So in that last interaction, I was showing up after not being able to work out, not being, to keep up my physical standard to what I usually, what they were accustomed to. And again, this is my own speculation. And then in that last circumstance, there was a request for me to have penetrative sex with Miss Ventura, that the pressure of the situation or whatever, I was able to not perform. So I assumed that the combination of me not being able to perform and the physical condition not being up to its usual, I feared that would, I guess, quote unquote, get me fired from the interaction. And that ended up being the last time I had interactions with them.
Can I ask y'all a question? From years ago, did y'all not think Puff played for the other team? He batted for the other team. Did y'all not think this? I always have. I'm sorry. I always have, and I can't say known, because in order to know something, it must be factual. You must have concrete evidence of. So I did not have that. So I didn't know, but I had a feeling. I had a strong feeling that Diddy batted for the other team. Literally. I had a feeling he did. And for years, a lot of his suspect activity, oh yes, drove that belief even harder. No Diddy. But I always knew but I always had a feeling that he was. And then, of course, there were those rumors in hip-hop, which we hear a lot of rumors about a lot of these rappers and producers now, which, honestly, I believe most of it. But let's get back to the interview.
Who actually organized this? I mean, who was doing the interactions with you, the payments and so on?
I only ever spoke to and interacted with Miss Ventura. From telephone calls, text messages, to when I was greeted at the hotel room, to even cordial conversations before and after the sexual play I described. All my interactions was with her.
A lot of people have heard about these freak-offs. These are these parties which Diddy would have, where there would be various layers to the party, and then it would end up with a lot of depravity going on with a number of people. Clearly, you were engaged in a scenario here which some might think is a form of freak-off, but others might see as just a couple engaging in kinky sex. When you hear that term freak-off, from your experience, was there anything freaky about what you went through or what they put you through?
No, I would have to say in my experience, no. I had a similar belief, like, again, growing up in Harlem and in a culture where, Mr. Combs was very influential.
My man said he had to stay sharp. He said he had to stay, he probably went to the gym. Think about the money that he was making with them. And this goes back to 2015. He said that was the last time that he received a call from them. For 2 years, he was, I guess, on the freak-off list. He was one of their go-tos. He was on speed dial. Yes, they must have loved the Punisher until he hurt his biceps and couldn't perform like he used to. See, that's exactly what he was alluding to. He could not perform like he used to because he tore his biceps. You know, Diddy probably likes him to pick Cassie up, flip her around, all of that. And he couldn't do any of that anymore, so they probably got a little bored of him and took him off the list. Maybe added someone else on. No, there's no maybes. We know they added someone onto the list because I'm pretty sure they were going to stay with a long list of men, party favors. Yes, those types of men. Escorts. Yes. Sex workers. Yes, those types of men. I'm pretty sure Diddy had a long list of them. He probably had a Rolodex full of them. And so he would do what he did because he was able to keep it a secret. That's why this man says that he would be in the same room with him and didn't know who he was until he saw his name pop up on the screen at home. Welcome home, Sean Combs. Put 2 and 2 together. And now you're probably putting 2 and 2 together too, with all this freaky shit that they are talking about Diddy was into. Again, I don't see where the crime occurred. When it comes to the freak-offs, that's just some perverted and sick shit. Let's be real about that. That's just some perverted and sick shit. Some of y'all actually like things like that. More power to you. I don't care. But let's call it exactly what it is. It's some perverted and sick shit. It's not normal. But I don't see where the crime is. Besides for him whooping on Cassie like he did in those videos, I don't know what any of the other crimes are. Especially when people who are testifying are saying that she was not under duress. She was actually leading. She was actually taking charge. She was actually setting these freak-offs off. Yes, she was arranging some of these freak-offs. From the messages that she sent Diddy, she enjoyed the freak-offs. But now, years later, can you cry victim when you are either unhappy or broken up with, or you want to get revenge? Can you cry victim if you were actually under duress and no one knew the better. But it's years later. Could you cry victim if you were manipulated from a man who had influence, from a man who had power, from a man who had money? Could you cry victim years later? Because a lot of people are going to look at this story and say, you know what? Why didn't she come out with this 5 years ago? Why didn't she come out with this 10 years ago? Why didn't she come out with this as it occurred? Well, I'll tell you why. It's probably because she was actually into these freak-offs. Diddy was into it, she was into it, and a lot of these other celebrities were into it. And I don't know what they're paying the judges or whoever they're paying to keep this on the hush, to keep this quiet, but do y'all see how the main focus is Diddy and not any other celebrities who participated in these freak-offs? Will Diddy get off? I'm pretty sure he will. And the question will be, did he really do it? Until next time.
If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more content.